everybody. We're back live.
Hello. Good evening.
I know. So today has felt like a shit show. So Sammy and I seem a little bit discombobulated. It is because it's like feels like mortgage Armageddon today.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So anyway, just wanted to shout out a couple of people. Hi, Ivan. Hi, Danielle. Danielle, can I just tell you how much I absolutely love you? Thank you for always coming on all the lives, commenting on all of the videos. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're such a tremendous support, and I just can't say enough thank yous. So, and then we have Gerardo and Adriana. So hello, everybody.
Hello.
So I want to start today's live off with just kind of talking about where the market's going. I have been flooded this week full of questions about what inflation does, what are all the big economic reports out. And so I just kind of want to touch base on this because I think it's such an important topic. So right now, inflation is in the news a lot because the rising cost of goods in almost anything. If you're in the market to buy a home right now, you've experienced this with the multiple bidding, the bid over asking, the paying the appraisal gaps. I mean, it is just crazy out there. And so there's this concern that prices are rising so rapidly and that it isn't temporary like, the Fed has been saying. So just for you guys to kind of keep in perspective, all of our supply chains have been really disrupted with coronavirus, and we don't have enough supply of regular items because people haven't gone back to work. We aren't porting ships. There's a large reason for why things have been, just so constricted. And so the idea was that, we would see higher inflation numbers in the beginning half of the year and that, they would be temporary. But now we've kind of exceeded this idea of like what was safe, for those increases for high inflation. And so you have a lot of people, a lot of economists, a lot of famous rich people like Warren Buffett who are sounding the alarms right now. And so today the Fed minutes were released. There are concerns about inflation. The mortgage market went bananas. We lost 20 basis points. And so today, interest rates don't look amazing. But just so you know, whenever there's news like this, we see an immediate reaction. And then tomorrow, we'll probably see some sort of a correction that isn't exact. I'm not a psychic. But that's typically what we see. So don't panic. I think interest rates are going to stay historically low. Now, you guys got used to seeing interest rates in the 2s. They're definitely in the 3s now. So just kind of keep that in mind. But I've had an ungodly amount of questions about interest rates, inflation, is now, a good time to still buy a house.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, and you sent out that newsletter last week, and it was like the moment you sent it, your phone and email just went off the hook. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? What does this mean? What does that mean? So...
Oh, and you guys, that's a really good thing to segue with. If you guys want to be subscribed to the newsletter, if you want to know what's going on with current mortgage markets, interest rates, products, you can sign up on our website at lizyhoeffer.com.
Yep, and you will get those weekly from Lizzy. All right, so let's jump into some questions. Jose has one. He says he owes $220,000. Home should appraise easily for $440,000. How much cash can I take out? I was thinking between $40,000 and $60,000.
So you're limited to 80% of the value of your home when you're taking cash out if it's your primary residence. If it isn't your primary residence, you're limited to 75%. So you'll have to do the math on that because I can't do that off the top of my head. Sorry.
I know, and I'm not a mathematician either, so... All right, and then Jay-Z just asked, hey, Lizzy, I saw your video yesterday. It was great. As far as the $15,000 credit, did it already pass in Congress? And we've actually had multiple people ask that on your Instagram as well.
Yeah, it's just a bill at the moment, guys. And with bills, you just know that they get proposed, they get voted on, they get adjusted, and then they get revoted upon. And so it's just right now in its infancy stages. But the good thing about it is that we at least got to see the general criteria.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Danielle said, how am I not already on it? Don't worry.
How aren't you on it? Girl, I can't wait to meet you one day in person. I know it's going to happen.
Right. When we have like a YouTube meetup. Love it.
So there was a question that I really wanted to answer, and I know we're going to get to these questions too, but I promised this guy that I would answer his question today on the live. So I've got to find it because honestly, it was like one of the best questions I had seen in a long time. And so, well, why don't you go ahead and ask, and then I will go ahead and look for this question.
You're a sucker for like really good questions.
No, okay, I found it. Sorry.
Okay, no, you're fine.
This is a good one. So it said, "Thank you for providing such valuable information," and this is from Jawan R. It says, "I really appreciate your honesty and dedication. My question is, I'd like to refinance to a 15-year fixed mortgage. My home is worth $300,000. I owe $136,000, but would like to take out $40,000 cash out. My current rate is 6.125%, and I have 16 years left." So here's the thing. You can definitely save more than 2% in interest. And depending on what you plan on doing with the cash out, like let's say you're planning on paying off high interest debt, this makes total sense. You'll honestly pay less on a 15-year mortgage in this scenario than you're currently paying on your house, which I think is super huge. And so I definitely recommend, when you guys are looking at refinances, especially people who've owned their houses for 10 plus years, to look into shorter terms like 20 years, 10 years, or 15 years. Right? There's no need to extend the length of time when of which you'll make payments. And so I love this scenario, and I definitely think that you should refinance that in general just to pay way lower interest and do it on a 15-year mortgage.
100%. Okay, Jose just asked, closed on an FHA loan 1 month ago, and I'm wondering if I qualify for a forbearance.
You'll have to call your servicer, so you can still, lots of them are still doing forbearances. You can still qualify. So definitely reach out to them and see what programs they're offering.
Perfect. All right. And then Kim asked, Lizy, if you are paying off your vehicles at closing, is it factored into your DTI when qualifying for a new loan?
Ooh, so this is a tricky one, guys, because people finance auto loans in a different way. So some people do auto leases, some people do regular installment loans. If you're going to be paying off debt, it has to be an installment loan in order for us to discount it from your debt to income ratio. People often get this confused. An inexperienced loan officer will get this confused. And so essentially with a lease, right, even if it's being paid off or you won't have payments for multiple years, you have to physically return the vehicle in order for it to not be counted against your debt to income ratio. And you'll probably have to write some sort of letter saying you're not going to take out new auto financing. So you just want to be aware that if it's an auto lease, more than likely, no matter what, it's going to be counted into your debt to income ratio. And also when you're paying debt off at closing, because I saw some other questions come in on Instagram about this, you want to make sure that everything is paid off at closing. Otherwise, it could delay your close of escrow with having to get credit supplements. It's going to require you to make a third-party phone call or provide additional documentation, and it's kind of a hassle for you and for your loan officer. So you just want to make sure that the most updated payoff statements are available for your closing.
So I have a quick question. If you are going to get the car loan, how do you know if it's an installment loan when you're getting the loan, if that makes sense?
Well, because when you own a car, when you lease a car, it's like renting it for a long time.
Okay, cool. And then, I love this question always. Carolyn asked, is Arizona turning into California with the home prices?
Honestly, guys, so I read something recently that said that the area median price for a home is around $370,000, so it makes us moderately affordable. So I don't think that we're as extreme as California. I mean, there's certain areas in California that, I mean, it doesn't even make sense to own a home. So no, but I do think a lot of Californians are moving to Arizona, so it does feel a little bit more California-esque. But I don't think that, I mean, Arizona is a place that is very widespread out, and I just don't see it increasing fast enough where it will outpace people's ability to buy here.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, vintage body, mind, and soul. FICO score information for new home buyers. So what are the minimum FICO scores?
So minimum FICO scores, guys, are 580 if you're buying anything with government financing, so FHA, VA, and then you'll need a minimum of 620 on a conventional loan, and then you'll need 680 for a jumbo. Now, I say all of those because those are the minimum requirements that you can find online, and some lenders actually loan as low as 500. You know, but I will say that they're difficult to qualify for. So in general, you want to have good credit, so on-time payment histories, not maxed out balances. You know, you want to keep credit for at least a minimum of 2 years and have 3 trade lines to be considered somebody with good depth of credit. But I mean, whether or not you will qualify with those scores depends a lot on your debt to income ratio, the money that you have in the bank, your longevity at your job. So there's a lot more that goes into it than just credit.
Yeah. Okay, Robert just asked, how long does final underwriting take for clear to close?
It depends on the lender. Most lenders are somewhere between 2 days and 3 days. Some are same day and 24 hours. It just really depends on the loan officer and the company that they work for. I know ours are, I mean, between 24 and 48 hours.
Yeah.
Now, you also, so I say that, and then sometimes they come up with additional conditions, right? So it also depends on how thorough you are, how diligent you've been. You know, do your bank statements have all the pages to them? You know, did you do, you know, consecutive paycheck stubs?
Yeah.
I mean, so it depends on how good you've turned in your conditions too, but, you know. I say that because I mean, I'm like, you know, I got like that. Like, so we see so many weird things in loans. And so like, I'll answer a question. I'll be like, but then today, I mean, I got like 4 pages out of a 6-page document.
Yep.
And, you know, the person was like, I can't give you the other 2 pages. And I'm like, I have to have them. The underwriter won't clear this. And so, you know, sometimes people like really refuse to get us the things. And so we try to be creative on how to resolve the condition. And it doesn't always work. So.
Yeah, they'll send us like the even pages or just the odd pages.
Yeah, in this case, it was like they didn't want us to know who they sold their business to. And I'm like, it's a legal document. We need it for your home loan. You can't redact any information. You can't black it out. And I got to have all the pages.
Yeah. So, okay, Lexter just asked, hey Liz, planning to buy a house with a value of $400,000 in Texas, 730 credit score. I only have $7K in my bank account, but I have $70K in my brokerage account. Will it affect my bank approval process?
No. You have plenty of assets to purchase. You just have to be willing to withdraw the funds from your brokerage account. And a couple things that I will let you know. So a lot of brokerage statements are quarterly statements. So you also want to ask your mortgage company if they use something like account check or a system that will allow you to do verifications of your banking history. So that way you're not having to print out a million transaction histories and screenshots. I find oftentimes that this is one of the conditions that actually prevents people from getting clear to close, is that their bank statement cuts off before their like transactions for like large deposits from retirements or brokerage accounts. So just keep in mind that you will want to get a detailed list of all of the documents you'll have to provide to source those funds.
And then to bounce off on that question, during closing,
During closing, when is it okay to move money between accounts for the wire transfer? So here's the deal. The more you move money around, the more we have to document them. Hopefully you have an account like Wells Fargo that lists all of your bank accounts on it, or you're working with a lender that does those account check verifications so that we can just verify all the accounts on one 60-day transaction history. But if you don't, you want to try to move money minimally, right? You want to keep them in their accounts. So like if you have all of your money in a savings account, just leave it there, right? When it gets time to wire the funds, you can transfer into checking and then wire the funds out. Chances are we won't have to verify that detail, but there are other people who every other day they're, sending money from this account to that account, to Zelle, to PayPal. And when you do that, it just makes the underwriting process that much more complicated.
And then I would also say at closing, ask your bank if you're going to wire the funds to title, how long it will take for those funds to get to title. Because sometimes some banks, it will take 24 hours. So.
Yep, especially now in COVID where not all banks are allowing you to go into the facility. You definitely want to figure out and this is really good. You really want to get their actual instructions, but also be aware that there is a shit ton of wire fraud right now. I mean, Oh my God, it is literally the most prevalent thing that's going on right now. And so you really want to make sure that you have called into the bank, that the bank hasn't called into you, and that you are on the phone with the title person giving you those wiring instructions. They will not change those wiring instructions. Those things are set in stone. You do not want to be the person that wires $100,000 into a fraudulent account because it's like almost near to impossible to get back.
100%.
And I have had clients do that before. Like, seriously. So you do not want to do that.
Yeah, and if you have the option to get the cashier's check, that is your safest route because you get it straight from your bank and it goes straight to title and it's in title's hands. So, okay, Danielle, when you live in a high-cost area, is the threshold higher before you need a jumbo loan?
So you can Google yourself to find out if your county qualifies for what's called a high balance loan. I'm pretty sure DC qualifies. And so essentially it allows you to use government and conforming loan limits at higher amounts. So meaning that you pay lesser down payments. So you definitely want to look into them and they're easier to qualify for in general. But you'll have to Google search to see if your county qualifies. Maricopa County, unfortunately, does not qualify, even though there are sections, because we're like a bunch of cities combined into one thing that's called Phoenix.
So true.
But Phoenix proper, average home prices are $500,000. You know, you go to Paradise Valley and you're talking seven figures.
Yeah.
So, you just have to realize that there are parts of the city that maybe would qualify, but Maricopa County as a whole does not because they average everything.
Okay, and Kenneth just asked, what should I do if I receive a monetary gift from my parents before I apply for a home loan?
Well, if you receive that monetary gift 60 days in advance of when you have to provide documentation, chances are nothing, right? Because those funds will be considered seasoned. If it happens during the transaction, some banks will ask for 30 days of bank statements from your parents to make sure that the funds actually came from their account. They'll require verification that it went into your bank account via, like, let's say a canceled check deposit image or a wire transfer. And then there'll be a gift letter that they have to sign just saying that there is no repayment terms so that you won't owe them money, that this is not a loan.
And to bounce off that, someone else asked, does the gift giver have to pay taxes on the money that they send?
So there's a certain amount of money that you can gift a family member without it being taxed. I don't have that number off memory, but you can Google it pretty easily. We're not the IRS. We do not report gifts, right? That's totally self-reported. So you won't get like a 1098 or a 1099 from us.
Yeah. Ian asked, can a lender count my business credit card as debt in the underwriting process for my personal home loan? My business credit cards are not listed on my personal credit file.
So no, but let's say they're paid for from a personal account and they see that there's debits going out, they'll probably question it. I had a client recently who pays for her mom's auto loan and it comes out every single month via direct debit from her personal account. We had to document that that vehicle loan was not in her name and that she wasn't legally obligated, just to make sure that it wasn't included. So it kind of depends on how you pay for that. Now, one thing I will say about business debt, sometimes you have to finance things in your personal name, like an automobile, or you have a credit card that's used strictly for business. I have one of them. And so long as it's paid for by a business account and you have 12 consecutive months of making those payments, you don't have to count them against your debt to income ratio. So another thing to throw out to your lender in case you're having a hard time qualifying.
Yeah. Okay, and Rivergoy asked, what are my chances of buying a house with FHA in this market?
Well, it really depends on the agent that you're working with, right? So there are a lot of agents who won't even take you as a client, who will try to convince you to go conventional because in their minds they feel like it's too difficult to qualify. But if you have the right agent who knows that people care about time, money, and stress, and they want to know how solid you are as a buyer. So we had somebody who could qualify for a conventional loan, but they were better terms on an FHA. I spoke to the listing agent, let them know, answered their concerns. Their concerns were about repairs and it taking longer to close. I guaranteed him an on-time close. We do this on-time close guarantee. I also let him know that we do bi-weekly updates, and they actually accepted our offer over other conventional offers, right? Because they had the right people working with them to help them get qualified, right? So honestly, it pays, especially in this market, to work with people who will advocate for you, who will do more than just like set you up on an email drip. So I think you're still good to get an FHA offer accepted in this market.
Yeah. Michael, hi Lizzie. I'm thinking about refinancing with a credit score of 750 with a higher credit score than 750. Can I get a better interest rate?
I have to reread that question.
Oh, so what he's asking is if he has a better credit score than 750, will he get a better interest rate?
So jumbo financing does care about credit scores above 740, but other than that, typically no. 740 is like the best of the best in terms of credit. So I think you're probably safe.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you that refinancing, just in general, is more risk to a bank, so you will have higher interest rates than if you did a purchase loan. And if you're doing cash out refinancing, it's an even higher risk threshold. So just an FYI on that.
Yeah. Tara asked, if student loan collections drop off credit report, do you still need to tell the lender about the student loan debt you owe?
Absolutely. It's a declaration on your application. It literally says, are you currently defaulted on any federal debt? And I will tell you this, oftentimes clients will say no to that question. And if you're getting a government loan, we run this thing called CAVERS, which is it's basically a database of anyone who has any kind of government indebtedness, and it will literally disqualify you from your home loan, and we won't know about it until it gets into underwriting. So definitely disclose it right away.
Yeah, because we always find out.
And we do always find out, but honestly, like oftentimes you can get on a payment plan, you can remove the CAVERS, you can do so much to it. So don't put yourself in a situation where you're trying to hide something just to later on not qualify for the house you fell in love with.
Absolutely. Lenders are really creative. I feel like this is part of the job, is to be a problem solver and fix everything.
Oh, no, it's because you work for a good loan officer.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding. But honestly, I really do think that it's true. You know what's funny is that a year ago, when it was all about interest rates, people were like, well, why do I need to go to you? And it's like, well, in a market where it's super competitive, one, you want to work with somebody with a great reputation, but you also want to work with somebody who has strategies for how to overcome an appraisal discrepancy or how to maximize, your purchasing power. I talked to clients today who, instead of putting, 10 to 20% down, I said, hey, put 5% down, buy out your mortgage insurance. It's another 2%. So that's 7% out of pocket. And it literally dropped their mortgage payment $267. You would have to know somebody who is professional and expert in mortgages to even get you that scenario. Otherwise, you're calling in for a 30-year fixed mortgage and they're just giving you whatever you called in for.
Yep.
And chances are they're not shopping your mortgage insurance around. They're not playing around with different down payment scenarios.
100%. Okay. Thank you for being such a great loan officer. I just had to tell you that. Okay, Sam asked, are investors buying up homes or are these real families trying to buy the homes?
So guys, what's interesting about today's market, and I was actually on the phone with this gal named Tina Tambor who runs all the stats for Phoenix. And so we have a couple of different types of buyers now. So we have retirement and pension funds, we have investors, we have second home vacationers. And so there is a large percentage of people that are purchasing in that category, but we also don't have enough supply available for the actual people who want to occupy homes. And that makes up a way larger percentage than second home investors and these retirement accounts. So, I think that it's difficult, especially if you're somebody who's been out looking and then you get outbid by a cash offer, right? Because typically these investors have more money. But it isn't as widespread as you think.
Yep. Okay. How much does it cost to buy out PMI with 5% down?
So it depends on your credit score, and your debt to income ratio and how many people are on the loan. So I will say that, it's going to be anywhere between 1% to 4%. That's not a really great answer, but it is something, it's definitely an option that if that's how you were purchasing and you have extra cash, that I would ask about. Especially too, for those of you who are putting 20% down, this has been an awesome option that we've been able to offer people to keep their loan amounts the exact same and their payments the exact same. When the appraisals come in short, we're like, okay, here's what it would cost you to buy out the MI, and then very little has to change for them.
Yep, 100%. Daddy-daughter gaming dad, he is actually new LO. Do you have words of wisdom for him?
Yes, I think you were on last week's live chat. Is this your daughter's like gaming name? Is this like what happens? You forget to change?
I would totally love to know your name.
Yeah, so here's what I would say. If you're a brand new LO, chances are you probably need to work for somebody who has been who's been experienced, who's seen multiple markets. It's a really difficult market to cut your teeth on just because it's uber competitive. But I will say that if you are gonna dig in, I would buy the MRI books, study your guidelines, and then sign up with the coaching program that will teach you how to prospect.
Yep, absolutely. Darren, thank you so much for the shout out. Everybody like us.
Oh yeah, yay Darren.
It's a simple click of a button. Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay. Ricky asked, if you had to time the market, what would you suspect will happen?
There is no such thing as timing the market, guys. I literally hate this question. Let's go. I hate the question.
Grab the magic 8 ball.
So here's the thing, guys. Right now, I've had people who are like, well, I'm just going to hold off and I'm going to continue renting. And I'm like, awesome. Well, just so that you know, in the Phoenix area right now, to buy a house that's like $370,000, depending if you did 10% down, you had good credit, your mortgage payment's somewhere around $1,800. Rent for that exact same house is $1,950 to $2,000, right? And it's going up, like rent is accelerating faster than home prices are appreciating. And so unfortunately, it's still cheaper to buy a house right now, even with the craziness that's going on with bidding wars and, home prices accelerating, right? But the thing is that when do you decide to, invest in your future? It's a long-term play here, guys. This is a leveraged liability. And so, people ask me all the time, they're like, well, I don't want to buy when it's the highest, but like for foreseeable future, guys, it's going to continue to rise. And let me get this straight, like so super straight, because I see lots of YouTubers talk about this and I'm very passionate about this. Mm-hmm. This is not a demand problem. Yes, there's a lot of people who want to buy homes right now. Yes. But let's say we had half of them just get out of the market. There's still not enough homes for half the people who want them. Like, we had underbuilt for 16 years, double-digit years, and we have an aging population who's living longer and they're not moving out. Uh-huh. Like, grandma and grandpa used to go into an assisted living facility. They used to move in with mom and dad. They're aging in place because that's the most affordable place for them to be right now. And so no matter what, like into the next decade, we will not have enough supply. And so I can't say that enough. I don't know. Now, obviously, I'm not a fortune teller and bad things happen. Last year when coronavirus started, there was a 2-week period where it was scary slow, right? I'm not saying that something like that couldn't happen. I'm just saying that if people follow logic and data, the data is supporting that prices are going to continue to increase. Okay. Now, having said that though, I think it will balance itself out with higher interest rates. Less people will be able to afford houses. That'll calm the market down. And people will go back to work. Not everyone's going to be able to afford a second home. Not only will they not be able to work from home, right? So I think it's going to get less competitive. Okay. But no, I can't predict the market. And I really hate that. Just so you guys know, to keep this in perspective, I know I keep going on this, but
hey, keep going.
The last boom started, it started accelerating in 2004, and in the last quarter of 2005 is actually when that shifted. The bottom of that market, from the top to the bottom, literally was 6 years. And the only reason that we knew that it was 6 years is because back in 2012, when everything started going up again, we're like, oh, that was the bottom. Okay, yep. So I hate that question.
I know. And it's just crazy to think that, and you put that in perspective, that it took 6 years for people to finally see what
that means.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, okay. Mandy asks, do you know if it's a good time to buy a home in California? Gosh, you guys love these California questions.
Okay. So I don't want to say anything negative about anyone who follows us from California, but I find that California is just one of those places sometimes where it just makes more sense to rent, just because the home values way exceed people's average incomes. Now, I know lots of people who own in San Diego, who own in like other areas that are maybe more affordable. So it really depends on the area that you're purchasing in. But like I said, interest rates are historically low. They're typically in most areas under what it would be to rent. So if that's not your situation, if it's definitely cheaper to rent and you can invest your money in other things, I would maybe consider that if you're in a high cost area.
Yeah, absolutely. Danielle asked, at what point does a higher credit score not make a difference?
Well, it also depends on what type of loan program you're qualifying for. So, like on a VA loan, essentially once you've got a 620 or a 640 for some lenders, you get the same interest rate. On a conventional loan, 740 and above really is the best interest rates you're going to get, best mortgage insurance you're going to get. On an FHA loan, 640 and above pretty much gets you the best rates. So it depends on the type of loan program that you're qualifying for.
Yep. Okay, Lainey asks, I made a budget and used your free guide from the website. Woo-hoo!
Yeah.
That's awesome. My question is, now what? How do I stay on track? It's easy for me to forget about it and fall into old habits.
So here's the thing about a budget, guys. So, and I actually was telling this to a friend. So I belong to this coaching program that's really hardcore and looking into your budgets. And I'm like, okay, but a budget is a set of limitations, a set of restrictions that you say you're not going to exceed. And so I think that a budget has to be looked at multiple times a month. So one of the best financial pieces of advice I ever got was to figure out payments between the 1st and the 15th and the 16th and the end of the month, which is either the 30th or the 31st, and figure out what bills you can pay in the first half of the month and bills that you can pay in the second half of the month. So that way you can keep track of all of your financing. And there's a midway point where you can say, okay, how am I doing on my spending? And so if you practice this, if you really pay attention and look at your budget, 2 to 3 times a month, you won't get into bad habits because I think that the practice of mindfulness will keep you from doing it, right? So if you had to actively look at your budget and your spending, the likelihood of you like going crazy and going rogue is not as high. It's the same thing like where people have to track everything that they eat for diets. It's the same kind of concept. So a budget should be looked at multiple times to make sure that you keep yourself on track. Now, if you're only looking at your budget once a month after you've spent, that is not a budget. That is what we call a reconciliation of your spending, right? It's just to give you an idea of where you spent your money.
Yeah, and also, once you have that mindset and you're very mindful of your budget, then when you go to swipe your credit card or your debit card, you'll like double think about it and be like, do I need this? Or is this something that I could pass on? And do I need those new shoes?
So
not this month.
What's funny about this is that I like put myself on weird budgets all the time, like depending on like, and it'll be like, I'll be checking it like every single day and being like, okay, Sammy, we can't do any kind of spending. No, I can't go out to lunch. No, we can't get Starbucks right now. And she's like, seriously?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm not going to go past my spending budget because I'm an emotional spender. And sometimes I will like be so stressed out and I'll just buy something ridiculous and then poor Sammy has to go and return it.
Oh, but guys, I'm the queen of returning items. I have no shame.
Well, she can't because like I read a meme that said one of my passive income streams is returning all of my items to Nordstrom's.
Oh my God, that's
and I was
so
like,
cute.
oh my God, that's so cringy. So yes. So anyway, sorry for the tangent, but yes, look at your budget
all the time.
All the time.
Literally all the time. It will hold you accountable.
And also, guys, we do have that free budget guide, which is going to be the precursor to our app that we have coming out at the end of the year called SmartSense.
Mm-hmm. So also reach out to us if you guys would like to become our beta testers and give us some,
Yeah, so we're looking for 100 people to test out the product. So if you are interested in that, if you'd put your email chat in the comments below, that would be super helpful.
Yeah.
Also, this is kind of nerdy and just for me. Would you mind letting us know, like, where you're watching this from? Are you guys from Phoenix? Are you from DC? Like, is this, like, where are you guys tuning in from?
Love it. Val asks, I have paid off 2 of my credit cards. How do I close them without hurting my credit score?
you can't close a credit card account, guys, without hurting your credit score. So essentially the reason for that is because credit is based on an algorithm of how much credit is available to you to how you spend it and repay it. So once you close a credit line, you actually lower the amount of credit that's available to you and you become higher risk to the bank. So just don't close them, maybe freeze them, maybe cut up the credit cards, you know.
Yeah,
and just so you guys know the freezing reference, back in the day when my spending habit was really actually terrible, I put all of my credit cards in a bag and then put them in a different bag surrounded with water and put them in the freezer. So I couldn't use them unless it was like a real emergency and I'd have to have it like.
No, you didn't.
No, I did. And honestly, it was so helpful. Because I couldn't break the credit cards. I actually did need them. I know. I have a really funny blog about it.
I actually have a question. So say you don't close the credit card. You just let it stay at zero until whatever, the credit company decides to close it. What if you have a annual fee?
Oh my God, guys, put it on your calendars. This is like actually one of the biggest reasons that we see people have lates on their credit. It's because they forget about these annual fees and then all of a sudden they forget to pay them. They get the collection notice in the mail. And it's something for like $12, $30. It's so bogus. So definitely if you have an annual fee, maybe just make sure that it's set on auto pay or auto deduction.
Yep. Love it.
Okay, so let's see where everyone's tuning in from. Oh my God, a lot of East Coasters. Guys, I am so super sorry. So we're going to try to move this up an hour to 5 p.m. I was already thinking about it today, but honestly, with the amount of people that are tuning in from Florida and Ohio and Illinois, I feel so bad that you guys are having to stay up so late to watch us. So I hope that we're bringing you the content that you want. So definitely ask these questions.
100%. Oh, Tampa. This is awesome.
No, there was a Jacksonville, Florida. Yeah. There was a couple of other ones. I think the dad and his gaming daughter are from Florida.
Yeah. Steven,
is that his name?
Yeah. We figured it out.
Hi, Steven.
I know. Well, they probably just go to bed dreaming about loans and how they're going to budget and save money for their down payment. And this is why they tune in right before bed.
Or we stress them out and they're like, am I going to qualify? Am I going to qualify?
Texting their loan officer late at night.
Too funny.
Okay.
So one thing I do want to mention here, and I know it's in the notes here, but I do want to just jump on this. So cryptocurrency is a very hot topic right now. We have lots of people buying Dogecoin and Bitcoin and all the different kinds of coins. If you follow my friend Javier, you know that he's definitely into this. You guys cannot use them for your home loans. So just so you guys know, even if you have like a Coinbase account and you're withdrawing from them, the reason for that is because the statements don't have your name and we have to be able to document where the funds come from. And so I'm going to say that almost all lenders won't be able to verify this. And so most of them do not allow cryptocurrency at all. So I just want you guys to be aware. Also, people are now getting paid in cryptocurrency. What's difficult about this is that it's very difficult for us to be able to verify the funds, and more than likely you're going to be a 1099 worker. So we'll want to see 1 year's worth of history of you guys receiving that money, filing it on a tax return, so long as you have 2 years in the industry. And then when you get the cryptocurrency, you're going to have to turn it into regular dollars in a business account. So this is a scenario. I know it came up lots today, so I just want to make sure.
Okay, look at Danielle's comment.
Oh, Javier's on here with the
Javier's
crypto.
On.
Woo! Yay! Woo!
Danielle just said, "Speak of the devil."
Oh, Javier.
Were your ears ringing?
Oh my God. So Javier is like the best. Can I just tell you that he's been a lot of the reason that we're even on YouTube. And yesterday, if you guys watched, I switched up my thumbnails because I want to start like really doing this well. And he's been telling me that my thumbnails look like PowerPoint presentations for like a year now. So we do it. And like literally I waited 24 hours and I was like, is he going to watch our video? Is he going to comment on this freaking thumbnail? Do I have to be like lame? And finally today, like an hour before our live, he's like, hey, nice thumbnail.
Oh my gosh, I loved it so much. I ran into Lizy's office and I was like, this is amazing. Like, it was so great. Very catchy. Okay, I have a really great question.
Sure.
But I don't know if you want me to wait for the very end to end it like as a fun one.
So
Save it for the end? Okay.
Yeah. one thing I do want to mention, so Think Money said invest in stocks and not in crypto. So I 100% believe in that. But one thing that I do want you guys to know is that if you are not maxing out your 401k, you shouldn't be investing in stocks, and you should definitely not be investing in cryptocurrency. So, I know it's not super sexy, and people, just it takes such a long time to grow. But if you were somebody that maxed out their 401k for 20 years, you would have somewhere between $1.5 to $4 million, depending on how the market performed. And that's definitely more than most people will save in their lifetime. And honestly, if you have an employer that doesn't employee match, like, you should 100% be doing that before any kind of like risky currency. And you guys can borrow against those funds for your down payments when purchasing for a home without penalty and without, without paying taxes. So.
Yep. Okay, before we get into that other question, I just wanted to go over this one. So this guy, he's been getting multiple different advice. And so he said that he's been hearing to put like your first offer, or put the first offer if you can. Then the recent advice has been like, if you put an offer in, other buyers will start bidding. And if they're going to start bidding, then go put another offer in on a different home waiting for that offer. This is like
So here's the deal, guys, with offers that like sight unseen, multiple offers. We are seeing that a lot in the industry right now. There are some ethical questions in real estate that I'm not going to get involved in. You definitely don't want to do that. It is difficult right now to get into a home. And so like submitting multiple offers might be a strategy, and you'll want to talk to a real estate agent about it. But what I'm going to recommend to you specifically is that you work with somebody who's professional, aggressive, has a strategy, and has a proven record of success. So there are agents in this market who have just barely started. So they're practicing on you in the most competitive, difficult market in history. And so like right now, it's about relationships, about who has connections, who do people trust the most, who can get an off-market property, and that's going to be your experienced pool of people, right? So you might want to throw like, I don't know, what is it? Throw a ton of shits at the wall. I mean, that's definitely one strategy. Or you want to find somebody who's really worth their weight in their commission.
100%. Javier asked, what do you think about the chads that say stocks say stocks and riskier but worth the reward?
So first of all, I want to acknowledge you for the $24.99 super chat. Just so you guys know, I donate all of that money to charity. So when you do that, just know it's going straight back into the community. And here's what I say about chads. Okay, here's the thing. Cryptocurrency is based on, I have no idea what, and a billionaire can send out one tweet and then all of a sudden your investment's worth nothing. Now, stocks, when done right, if you follow like a Warren Buffett method and you do dollar cost averaging and you're not putting all of your money into speculative investments, right? So if you're doing the S&P 500 or you're doing blue chip stocks that have been around for a really long time and pay a dividend, I mean, if you hold on to those stocks for like 30 years, you're going to see a return. It's proven. You can go back in history. You only lose when you do things like sell when everyone wants to sell. What sucks about money, guys, especially the psychology with money, is that people rarely follow logic, right? They don't follow facts. They don't follow statistics. They get so nervous that everyone around them is selling, and so they make poor financial decisions. Like, it's just
100%.
like, a year to 2 years ago when you could have bought a house, people were still waiting for the market to crash. Like, I have heard that literally now for over a decade, right? And you would kick yourself now having to purchase in this market when you could have purchased in 2 markets ago, but you didn't because people weren't doing it. It was still a buyer's market, and so it's just shitty. So I will tell you that, like, don't go buy the major growth stocks. Buy things that are long-lasting, pay a dividend. Look into index funds like the S&P 500. Guys, they've outperformed any mutual funds. I mean, they're just a long-term investment. It's not sexy. It's boring. But, nothing's sexier than 1.5 to 4 million. I don't know.
Well, Think Money said, boring investing is the best type of investing. Unfortunately, YouTube only displays memes and the high risky stuff.
I know. Well, that's because that's what everyone cares about. You hear that somebody bought Bitcoin or Dogecoin for 50 cents and then now selling it for over $8 and they're gazillionaires and oh my God, and everyone should do it. And it's like, well, here's what I don't like about cryptocurrency in general is that no one has taken credit for blockchain.
Yes.
Like, it's just the weirdest thing ever. I mean, that is literally the most amazing like technology or the advancement in finances ever, and no one wants to take credit for it.
And that makes no sense.
And so I don't trust it personally.
If it's that great, the person
No, I just don't trust it. It's like,
well, yeah.
who's, and it's really, really volatile, and we don't know what it's attached to or what it's really based on. So I don't know. I don't invest in things I don't understand personally. So I just am not going to invest in cryptocurrency anytime soon.
Yep, agreed. Chris for the Lakers. Any tips if I'm considering... Let's do Darren. Darren, thank you so much for the $10.
And Chris will come back to you.
Yes, Chris, we promise we'll come back to you. I just got the clear to close on a house where my offer was $5,000 under asking. I just want to say thanks for all of the great videos and live streams. They have helped me every step of the way.
Darren, that's freaking amazing.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, and congratulations on your home. I wish you the absolute best, and I hope you own it for double-digit years so that you really maximize your returns.
100%. Chris for the Lakers, we're back to you.
Okay.
All right. Any tips if I'm considering buying a listing from my buyer's agent? It's a property that I would have been interested in if it wasn't his listing too.
No, I mean, here's the thing. Like I said, this is the kind of market for relationships. If you have a relationship with the buyer's agent and he also has a listing, this is probably a good in for getting your home right now. Now, in a different market, I might advise differently, but like your chances of getting that offer accepted are probably higher than if he was representing someone else.
Well, and she said the listing's off the market. It's not on it.
Exactly. It's a pocket listing. Like, this is why you have connections.
Yeah.
Like, use them.
100%. So, okay.
Oh, and think money, just, Javier is like my little brother. I love him to death. We've worked together a long time, and he just honestly feels sorry for me because I'm so bad at technology.
Side note, Javier came to the office to walk us both through step by step on how to set up the cameras and everything. I mean, it was really great. Javier, you are like seriously the best. Okay, so I really want to get to this question. It's a really fun one. Mike asked, what is the craziest loan you have ever done? Not looking for any name dropping, just for an entertaining loan story.
You guys, there are so many. I mean, like, are we talking about where I was the most stressed out I've ever been stressed out, or like just weirdest scenario?
I mean, I think we should go weirdest scenario.
God.
I mean, I feel like you have some good ones.
I know, but now I'm drawing a blank. You should have prepped me for this.
Sorry. What about the one with when he showed up to closing with the duffel bag of cash? Because that legitimately did happen.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a couple ones. So, like, a couple weird things. So I've had clients actually die before they went to signing.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate, and that's definitely
sad.
super stressful. I had once where a lady showed up with a suitcase with $25,000, and I was like, hey, title is saying that they didn't get a wire from you yet. And she's like, yes, I have the cash with me. And I'm like, great, in a cashier's check? She's like, no, with me. And I'm like, what do you mean, in a duffel bag? And she's like, no, in a briefcase. And I'm like, what? Like, what the actual,
Yeah.
So that's not allowed also, P.S. So that was weird.
Purchase 3 cars.
Oh, I've had, yeah. I had
She said do not do that multiple times.
And I was like, oh my God, this is so stressful. We're fine. Then they purchased an RV, and I'm like, okay, like seriously though, you can't buy any more debt. And he then leased a car for his work. And I'm like, what part of the first case, like 1 and 2, did you not understand? And so that loan, unfortunately, did not get approved and caused me quite a bit of stress.
Yeah, that was a crazy one.
I know. And the most recent one that comes to mind for me, and this is just kind of like a random scenario, but so whenever you're self-employed, you have to be self-employed more than 25% of your business. Otherwise, you actually fall under the employee guidelines. And so it kind of is weird because sometimes you need business returns to add in depreciation or distributions, and it can create all kinds of different dilemmas. And because we were in this like weird limbo, he like owned 24.5% of a business and I needed depreciation to help him qualify. I just kept getting multiple different answers from the agencies and it was very stressful. We did get the loan done, but it is probably the most stressful loan I've dealt with lately.
Yeah, lately. It's kind of crazy that you've had so many that it's hard to think of one.
I mean, look, guys, people don't live to qualify for a mortgage loan, and so my threshold for what is nuts is kind of large.
Yeah.
So it's like we go to verify someone's employment and they've quit their job, or like they owe like $100,000 to the IRS and it wasn't on the recent tax return. It was from 5 years ago, and they're like, oh, I didn't think I had to mention that. Or it's like, oh my God. No, recently this guy, where was she from? Oh my God. He had this ex-wife from Chile and he had never divorced her. And he was like, well, I shouldn't have disclosed it to you. I'm now going to move lenders and just not disclose it to them. And I'm like, actually, they do this thing called a fraud guard. And oh, by the way, your paycheck stubs still reflect you as married. So you're going to have to explain this. It's really difficult. And he's like, well, in Chile, you just have to be separated and there's no real divorces and blah, blah, blah. And it's been so effing crazy to like figure this out, like to get a disclaimer deed in a different country where they like have no U.S. embassies open
with COVID.
Yeah, so I mean that's a good one.
Yeah. Okay, I want to go back to Think Money. He said, what do you say to those people going through escrow and not knowing when and if they'll get approved? He said that he just closed and it's been the most stressful thing he's ever been through.
So buying a home is the second most stressful short-term event in your life. First is death of a family member because of all the logistics. One, it's sad to lose somebody important, but then two, the logistics of burying them and getting everyone together is super stressful. Buying a home is similar because it's the largest investment that you'll make, the largest liability that you'll have, and it's the place where you're going to live, right? And so most people will just feel stressed the entire time, but if you have done a thorough pre-approval, had your bank statements reviewed, your tax returns, you've disclosed everything, you've been really transparent with your lender, it should be super easy. Now, is it annoying? Yes. Like providing and organizing all of your documents is never fun, but it is stressful. And if you're working with people who care, you'll be communicated with multiple times a week. And I mean, that's just the best that people can offer, but you're always going to feel stressed in a home loan situation. Every time somebody calls you, you'll always feel like you're not going to be pre-approved. I've done this now for almost 20 years and almost every single client feels the same way unless they've done it multiple times or they're like literally not worried about their finances at all.
I mean, it's even stressful like for people in the industry when they're purchasing their home. Yeah, like we all go through the stress.
If you ever want to see me be a raging bitch, do my home loan. Just kidding. But honestly, like I'm sure people hate me when
Sammy, just deal with them.
But also I will say that while the majority of people feel super stressed out, you do have that percentage of people who you're buying a home loan, right? Like, yo, I need your conditions. And I'm like literally hunting them down to help them qualify for their home loan. And sometimes I feel like I care more than they do, which is super weird. But majority of people will feel stressed.
That is weird. Okay, last question. Blessed and Blended, she asked, she recently went back to work part-time. She was part-time before the pandemic. She was furloughed during that time. They said, I'm assuming the lender told her that they'll just divide the income by 24 months and that will be her monthly income.
Yep.
Is that true?
That is. They have to average your income. Now, and that's mostly because you're part-time. If you were to have gone back to full-time status and you were previously working full-time, there is a return to work guideline. But whenever you have variable pay or part-time income, it is absolutely averaged. And that's really unfortunate, especially for people who were out of work for a long period of time during COVID.
Yeah.
It's really tough.
100%. All right, we are at 7:01.
Yay. Okay, guys. Well, I probably had more fun on this live than I was supposed to.
It's so crazy how we started like all like felt derailed, and then now we're just like,
I know, this is probably my favorite part of the week.
Yeah.
So next week we'll try to get this started an hour earlier. I have to obviously verify with the people who helped me with this awesome live stream, if that's possible, aka my husband and his awesome guy Zeke. So anyway, tune in maybe 5 p.m. next week. You guys send me all your questions, Instagram, Facebook, post them on YouTube. We love answering them and want to provide you with the most value possible for your home buying experience.
100%. So.
Alrighty, guys. Tune in next week.